the work, the recognition, and commitment. And that's pretty much it with that segment. Guys, if you are just tuning in, first of all, thank you. Welcome to the Deviant Chord podcast. My name is Drew, and I'm happy to have you. Thank you so much for listening. For those of you guys who are listening right now, thank you. We're also on Facebook at the Deviant Chord Podcast. You can check us out on YouTube too as well. Head on over to those platforms, the Deviant Chord Podcast. Subscribe, like our page, help us grow. If you're messing with the message that we have right here on the show, did that rhyme? I think it rhymed. But for those of you guys who want to listen to the full length episodes, we're also on Apple Podcasts. We're also on Spotify. We're on Stitcher and Overcast. So go on over to those platforms and check us out there. Support, download the podcast, hear us out if you like the message we're putting out there. All right, so heading into our next story here, as those of you guys know, what the Deviant Chord podcast is all about. We talking about building your mind. We obviously talk about finances and you know building your strength and understanding and growing in terms of wisdom and things like that. So we focus on those aspects. So one of the stories I want to talk about today is not really even a story, but I'll link articles here as reference points. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is the nature of our economy. Yes, folks, we're about to get into some serious money right now because things are not looking the greatest. Things are not looking the greatest for our economy. We are looking at, in terms of the state of the dollar, the state of employment, the state of food in this country. We are heading towards a time right now where it's going to be shocking for a lot of people. Where the era we're going in is going to be shocking for a lot of people. And let's talk about it for a second. Let's go over it for a second. First of all, a lot of us don't understand the nature of money, of what money really is, right? We think the currency, the little dollar bill that we have in our pockets right now, we think that is some form of currency. We think that is actual money, right? We think that, you know what, this $5 bill I have in my pocket, this $10 bill in my pocket, this is money. But you're wrong. It's really not, right? It's currency and it's useless. It's worthless. And for those guys, I want to break down a little bit the difference between what money actually is and what currency actually is, because this is going to be a big deal, because I believe we are going to be headed towards a major currency crisis. I think Americans right now are going to be losing faith in their dollars, in their currencies. I mean, obviously, seeing what the government's doing and how much money they're just tossing into the economy with little disregard of the future consequences of what's going to happen. Well, yeah, it's not going to be good. So what is money? Well, first of all, it's a medium of exchange, meaning you can take it anywhere and it's widely accepted. It's widely accepted, meaning if I have $1, for example, and I go to the store and I want a tomato, and that tomato is also $1, I can exchange my dollar for that tomato. It's a medium of exchange. It has your value in it, right? It's also portable, meaning you can carry it anywhere. You can take it with you wherever you want to go, however you want to go. You can take it anywhere. Okay, what else is money? It's durable, so I can spend it as many times as I want, and it doesn't degrade. It doesn't lose. It doesn't break apart, fall apart. I can use it. The next thing it's fungible. I like that word. Fungible, meaning that if I have $1 it equals $1 worth of whatever it is I want to buy, right? So the values are equal. It's also divisible. You can break it down. You can tens, fives, ones, 20s, 50s, hundreds. You can divide that. You can break it up, right? And last but not least, it's a store of value. Now, that last piece was absolutely the key piece. The key difference between real money and the money we have right now circulating. For most of you guys, the money you have in your pockets right now. The currency you think you have in your pocket has no store of value, meaning it doesn't hold its value. It actually loses value. In this case, the dollars you guys have in your pockets loses value every single year in the form of inflation. The hidden tax, as most people like to call it. So you're talking about, Drew, hey, what are you talking about? You're saying my dollar's not money? What the heck does that mean? What do you mean my dollar's not money? I mean, your dollar is a currency. That's what I'm trying to get to you. It's not real cash. It's simply just a currency, because a currency loses value every year. The more money they put into the system, the less money the money in your account is worth, the less value it is. So what are examples of real money then? Well, you got gold, silver, precious metals, right? But another form of currency that a lot of people don't talk about, and I don't see this a whole lot, but it's your time. Your time. Yes, your time is money. Because if you really think about it, your time is literally what you're trading for that money. So that in itself is a form of currency. For a lot of you guys listening, there's one thing I want you guys to do. And I've started doing this, and it's paid dividends throughout my life. It's changed the way I've seen things. It's changed the way I even interact with people. And that is to start literally thinking as your time, the little time you have, as physical currency. That's what you have to start doing. Because here's what happens with, just like physical money, like your time, you can choose to invest in things that could potentially give you a better return, right? So if you think about it, I have all this time right now, finite, limited, because you don't have a whole lot of it, which makes it a true store of value, because you don't have a whole lot of it. You can waste it, you can't get it back. Gold, silver, you can buy those, you can get those. Currency, you can get those. But your time, it's gone. So for a lot of you guys, start thinking, if I put time and X into this, what am I going to get out of it? And if the end result, is it going to help me succeed, or is it going to waste my time? Because I'm never going to get that money back, ever. Like a loan, right? You give your loan, your employment for 10, 15 years, you trade your time for those 15 years for whatever dollars they give you, right? And it's up to you to figure out if that's what it is that you want to invest your time in. But for a lot of us, let's start getting to the habit of thinking of our time as a valuable resource, a valuable form of money, because it literally is. Now, what does this all mean, right? Well, think about it. In the past, like back in the 1900s, early 1900s, guess what? That dollar you had in your pocket, that physical currency you had in your pocket, that was worth 1 ounce of gold at some point in time. And the feds came in, and then they printed throughout those years from 1917 all the way down. It might be actually earlier than that. To now, where our physical currency is literally worth nothing, a fraction of what it used to be, right? To even think about it now, that same back then in the 1900s, that same dollar that could have bought you an ounce of gold, you need about $2,000 of that to buy 1 ounce now. If that doesn't show you how useless your currency has become over time, I don't know what is. And then for some of you guys out there who are older, maybe you're in the boomer category or a little older than that, where you remember a time where, hey, I can get a burger for a couple cents. I remember one guy used to tell me that a burger used to cost me 39 cents. 39 cents? What the hell? Can I go back to where you from? Like, let's hop on it. Let's go back in time. Where you from? 39 cents for a burger? It's $5 for a Big Mac now. $5 for a Big Mac, depending on when you live, right? Back then, 39 cents. So if that doesn't show you how worthless, how less of much of a purchasing power that your money has right now sitting in your pocket, I don't know what else to tell you. But it's not looking good. And now we're getting to a point where we're thinking about throwing another $5 trillion into the system because of what's going on right now. We're thinking about all that, right? And for a lot of our leaders, they're not thinking of the long-term consequences of that decision. They're not thinking about that, right? Your politicians, your leaders, they're not thinking about the long-term consequences. Do you know what they're thinking about? No, seriously, do you want to know what they're thinking about? I don't want this mess to fall apart on my watch. That's what they're thinking about. Exactly what they're thinking about. Because if it falls apart in their watch, you're not voting for them. And in the end, that's literally what it comes down to. Trading your productivity for dollars. Your future productivity for dollars. Your future productivity, right? Because think about it. If they print more money and your money's sitting in the savings account, well, that just diluted the pool, and now your purchasing power isn't as much as it was. Sitting in your bank account, having your money lose money, and no one's touching it. How crazy is that? So you got to understand the scheme that's being played right now. And that's leading to a whole lot of huge issues within our economic system that a lot of us should really start to pay attention to, right? And particularly, one thing that a lot of people I don't see a whole lot of people talking about right now is money velocity. Money velocity. I'll say that again. Now, let me break down for those of you guys who don't know what money velocity is, because this right here is a good indicator of where exactly this economy is headed. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what money velocity is essentially how fast your dollar moves across the economy, right? How fast it exchanges hands. So if you get paid, you go out, you spend it on goods and services, and let's say you go out, you get paid, you go buy a car, right? Boom. That money you just spent to go buy a car, that goes to the business that sold you that car. That business then deposited into their bank account. That bank account, then the bank takes a loan off of that deposit and loans it out to maybe another business or another person who needs a home. They do that and they take the money, they buy the home, and then that person who sold the home gets the cash, and then they put in the bank account, and the money travels throughout the economic system. So why is this incredibly important right now that we should start paying attention to this? Well, when money velocity is high, that's a good thing. That shows that the economy is actually active, that people are actually moving about, they're spending, they're doing things, they're making it happen, right? But it should start to get very, very worrisome when we start to see low money velocity. Because what that starts to reflect is that, hey, your economy is not doing too good. In fact, your economy is shrinking because people aren't spending money. People aren't moving about. They're not doing the things that they normally would do. So your economy is shrinking. I think we lost like 33%. GDP, highest we've ever lost. And why is that? We got people out of work. We got people at home now spending less money. Either they're spending less money, or they're spending at the grocery store, which leads to another problem, which I'm going to explain later here. But people are spending less. People are out of work. People are buying groceries because they have nothing really else to do. They can't spend on entertainment. Entertainment's shut down all over the place, right? Well, you can go out to eat? No. Can't go to a restaurant. Most of them are closed. So people are at home. Maybe spending on, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. That's why some of those companies, they're doing good. Everyone's flocking through them. But realistically, people are broke. People are unemployed. People are about to go homeless, which I'll explain later. And people are not spending. So when you have all these factors put together, you can see how our economy is shrinking. When people talk about the economy, they think about it as some kind of like outside tool, some kind of abstract thing. No, you are the economy. You are the economy. Think about where you are right now in life and with your finances. What are you doing? Are you going out spending the same way you used to before this whole thing broke out? Are you? Chances are you're not. Chances are you're probably figuring out how you can save a buck. That's definitely what you're doing. That's what majority of people are doing, right? So now we talk about a lot of people, all they're doing is basically, hey, you know what? I got to save my money. I got to spend less. And if all I got to do is buy groceries, well, I guess I'm going to buy groceries. It is what it is. So now you got a lot of people who either they have access to additional money or and that's via stimulus packages and things like that. But what do they end up doing? They go grocery shopping. They stock up on food. Food. We are experiencing currently right now inflation in food market. And part of the reason that we are experiencing that is because people who are spending less are spending more on food right now. And people think about this, while people are spending more on food and groceries, we have a disrupted supply chain. So we don't have that much inventory coming in to most of these stores. We don't have that. Because what this outbreak exposed to a lot of us is that, matter of fact, we don't have shit. We never did. Matter of fact, I didn't find out till a couple months ago when all this started going down that our majority of our drugs were made there. Were made in China. So, I'm sorry, what in the heck do we actually do in this country? No, seriously. Because if you think about it, a great economy means that its people have to be productive. If it turns out this whole time no one has been productive, everyone's just been doing service jobs instead, no one has been doing hardcore production, manufacturing, because we don't have that here. We didn't. We've been gutted. And that's what this exposed. So now we have a huge disruption in our supply chain. We got people who are losing their minds. They're buying food. They're trying to get that stuff taken care of. All of a sudden, now food prices are going up. Beef prices are going up. Egg prices are going up. Because when you have a limited supply, but you have more prices chasing that limited supply, the price has to rise to meet that demand. It's simple. I'm not saying it's easy for some of you folks out there, but it's simple concept to grasp. If a lot of people with money are chasing goods that are limited, the prices will rise. And that's what we see now. I got an article here I want to read for you guys, right? Wholesale prices rise for boxed beef. Signals retail pain for consumers. All right, this is a Forbes article. As if the threat of empty shelves in the meat section isn't enough to rattle the nerves of grocery shoppers everywhere, the price of the meat consumers do manage to find will likely be higher as well. The broken food supply chain for meat based animal protein is creating a shortage of availability of processed beef and pork. For both home cooks and fast food junkies alike, prices in the wholesale beef markets have already begun to signal, hang on, the retail price pain to come. The entire meat process business hinges upon a relatively small number of plants that slaughter live animals, cut them fairly into large pieces, and then put them in boxes for resale to butchers and institutions where the pieces are broken down even further for distribution. But many slaughterhouses are closed due to COVID-19 infections, and their workforces are leaving the farm. Prices for live animals are falling flat, and the price of boxed meat are soaring in wholesale markets. So basically what I just explained earlier, but in this case, these guys kind of go into depth and what's going into what's happening in the meat industry. So essentially what's going on is that right now you have a lot, because of the disruption in the supply chain and the disruption that this outbreak has caused us, right? We are in a situation right now where people aren't even working at those factories to process our meat. People aren't there to slaughter the animals that we need for our beef. So what happens when we have that kind of disruption? Well, your beef prices rise. And some of you guys can say, okay, well, we can find alternatives and stuff like that, which is cool. And most people will, that's what most people do. So if beef is too expensive, they're going to put their money in different spots, maybe chicken, turkey, things like that. What happens to those prices? This affects everything. So let's continue on. This is a dream come true. For a few traders and hedgers who can sell live animals and buy boxed meat in an arbitrage trade. But farmers and consumers will not fare so well, as farmers face the prospect of falling prices for live animals that cannot be processed due to plant closures. Retail shoppers and restaurants face the unimaginable in America: low meat availability and higher prices. That's ridiculous. So right now, if you're a small, agile business, you're the one who are making it. Essentially, you are skimming through the cracks and you are making it happen. But for those of the normal, regular farmers out there, it's good luck. That's what it is. Another thing that I wanted to talk about too is the homelessness that we're about to face, the mass homelessness we're going to see. Because for those of you guys who don't know, the eviction moratoriums ended not too long ago. And for those of you guys, what that essentially means is that is supposed to protect you from getting kicked out of your own home. Now, I believe there was an extension on it. I think it ended in July, but they extended it through an executive order. But think about this. People throughout this entire time, mind you, that only got one payment of $1,200. Your courtesy of your politician that cares. One-time payment of $1,200 are now left with the option of either putting food in their mouths or going homeless. And now, once this thing ends, the extension and our dear leaders have not come to a resolution that's beneficial for the American people, yeah, you are going to see a lot of people homeless. So I got an article talking about the eviction crisis here that I want to go over because I think it's very important. The clock is ticking on a looming national housing crisis. Starting August 24th, millions of renters who were shielded against the eviction by the CARES Act will no longer be protected. Add that 30 million or so workers on unemployment who lost the $600 per week federal enhancement. And a result of that, nearly half of all U.S. renters may be at risk of evictions. Nearly half of all U.S. consumers may be homeless because your leaders don't want to do anything. Or not that they don't want to do anything. Well, I mean, they're on vacation right now, I think. Right? Yeah. So we're trying to figure out if people should be in their homes or not, and your leaders are on vacation right now. So it shows you how much they care. But how crazy is that? Almost half of the country might go homeless. This is serious, guys, right? Without further protections or assistance, that means that 40 million people could be displaced from their homes over the next year. According to Aspen Institute, all the midst of the worst economic recession since the Great Depression, some states may still offer temporary emergency eviction protections, but many, like California, eviction stay may end soon. Adding to the confusion, President Donald Trump's executive order about evictions, which isn't a renewal of eviction protections, as a text excerpt below makes it clear. It isn't known exactly when or in what form a new eviction moratorium might happen. Without the assistance of future stimulus package, the situation could worsen. We're going to walk through everything we know, from the president's executive order to how to find out if your home is protected under current law. Okay, so basically, it's looking like if your leaders don't come up with some kind of plan soon, right, to figure out how to keep people in their homes, you're going to have a lot of people out of work. You're going to not out of work, people out of their homes, which is a serious thing. You're going to have a lot of homeless people out there. Guys, when we talk about on this channel that no one is going to take care of you, no one is going to be there to save you, you got to be the change that you want to see. It all starts with you. When I read stuff like this, right, it just further reinforces the fact in my mind why people should be more self-sufficient. Why people should be a lot more self-sufficient, not only about themselves, their well-being, but also their finances. Think about it. If a lot more people were responsible with their finances, a lot more companies, I'm not just going to even come at people, I'm going to come at companies too, because some of y'all corporations, some of y'all be on some BS. Some of you guys make terrible lending or investment decisions with debt, and now you want us, the taxpayer, to bail you out. So some of y'all deserve that pain. But for the vast majority of us, it sucks. But we didn't take that time to prepare, to save, to cut back, to spend less, to think about future prospects. We didn't take that time to understand where we want to go. And now we have reached a state where almost half of Americans, half of this country, we're going to be dependent on what the government says next. How scary is that? Putting your future in someone else's hands. Wake up. Wake up, America. Wake up. Things are changing. Things are changing fast. There are apartments right now that are vacant in New York, LA, all these other places where things are already pitting the fan. People are fleeing these big cities in droves. Wake up. It's a different world out there now. And it's time for you guys to have that mentality of we got to get it. We got to get it. We got to get at it. Because if we don't, there's going to be a lot of pain coming soon. So right now, the way I see it, I'm pretty sure if it's going to be any good news that they're going to come up with something, because we also forget that there's also an election year. And like I said earlier, no one's going to want this thing to tank on their boat, right? It's bad for business if it tanks on their boat. So there's going to be some kind of a package coming soon. They're going to bats at it right now. I think Democrats want $3 trillion. Republicans want $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion. I don't give a damn. I just want you guys to help the people. That's it. Help the people, because half of the people going homeless, that's a big problem that we are not prepared for. So there's definitely going to be something coming down the pipeline to help Americans soon. And I hope that this little time that we've been given right now, we take it. We take it as the opportunity for what the opportunity is, to basically better ourselves, better our situation, better our circumstances, meaning get your body in order, get your body fit, right? We're in the midst of a pandemic right now that attacks people who are physically unhealthy or immunely deficient, right? So start taking the steps. You got to take responsibility now, right? Start taking those steps to start figuring out, hey, what can I do to make sure that my body's good, my tempo's all right, so when stuff like this happens, I have a better chance of faring well. versus others who don't take that time to build their bodies up. Okay, now what can I do with my finances? What can I do right now with my finances to make sure that when stuff hits the fan, that at least I have something that can protect me and my immediate family? Because that's the move that we got to start thinking about right now. So we got to take this little time that we have to build that. And once we've built that, it's all about adapting at this point, because there's going to be a lot of random things coming, and it's going to feel like a lot of stuff's coming out of nowhere, but you got to be ready to adapt, because it's going to come fast and it's going to come hard. That's what she said. All right. So we're going to end it on that note. So